I have been a part of large organizations, big organizations, number one, number two. And the startup, we were very, very different. We had to start by establishing a team. We had to start by getting clients, ensuring we had a culture, ensuring we had certain processes. So that was something that was very, very unique for me. I also learned things like, learning to fail and being okay with it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, the podcast where we get up close with the minds shaping industries and redefining leadership. I'm Taneol, and today we have a guest who's done it all, built brands, driven multi-million-dollar growth, led global teams, and now she's on a mission to transform businesses through strategy and leadership coaching. Miss Nirali Bhukhanwala joins us today, someone who's been at the helm of major business transformations across India, Malaysia, and Indonesia. She's led groundbreaking marketing strategies, turned insights into impact, and helped organizations scale like never before. And now, as the founder and CEO of White Glove Consulting, she's bringing her expertise to businesses that want to go from good to extraordinary. We're about to dive into a conversation packed with leadership insights, business wisdom, and the kind of advice that sticks with you. Miss Nirali, welcome to the show, and it's so great to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, Tanay. And I'm super grateful to be part of FaceTime with Leaders.
The privilege is all ours, ma'am. Ma'am, every leader has a journey that's shaped by experiences, challenges, and those defining moments that set them apart. Yours is nothing short of inspiring, spanning across industries, geographies, and leadership roles. But before we dive into the big wins and milestones, I want to take a step back. If you were to look at your career as a story, one filled with unexpected turns, lessons, and victories, how would you tell it?
Hey, okay. So it's concising 24 years in a few minutes. Well, the past 24 years have been with a lot of ups and downs, but the lessons remain with me throughout my life. Yeah. So let's take a step back. I've always been interested and very, very deeply curious about human behavior, whether it's consumers, whether it's, off work, whether it's family relationships. And that kind of pursued me to get my master's in psychology. Yeah. When I was doing my master's, I got introduced to consumer research, something that I did not know before, and that caught my eye. So instead of doing the usual routine that a psychologist would, I entered into the corporate world. In the consumer research field, I learned so much about how consumers behave, what their mindsets are, how do they think, what do they express. Sometimes they don't really express what they're thinking. Right? So, how do you really excavate, go deep into the consumer psyche, whether it's towards brands or whether it's towards usage, it's towards habits, attitudes, and really understand what is in it for them. So that was my first role that taught me a lot and got me closer to consumers, right? Then I moved to be a strategic planner. Here, it first seemed very different from what I had done before. But as I spent more time, I got exposed to the world of brand frameworks, marketing, communication development, a fascinating world of its own. I learned how partnership, what does partnership mean, right? Because you're in it as an agency partner, you're in it with the client for the long run. Different campaigns, different promotions, different activations. How does it all come together? But what was the most interesting for me as a strategic planner was what is the intersection between the consumer story and the brand story? So how do you really find the sweet spot between the two? So that was super exciting for me. I then got the opportunity to move outside of India, Malaysia, where I had a similar role as a strategic planner, but different brands. I would say that my first stint working abroad taught me a lot more personal life lessons. Being working with people who were from different cultures, spoke different languages, had a different mindset, had different work ethics, had different ways of interacting with clients. And I would say all of these were so enriching in their own way. And I ended up being a more empathetic person and also a more open person to people that are different from me, right? Um, After that, I got into the client side, or as we say in the agency world, the dark side. So I got on to the client side, and there I learned about rigor, marketing, pricing. How do you deal with multiple vendors, partners? How do you deal with different stakeholders, ensuring that all their needs are met? So that is always a tricky balance, but absolutely enriching and essential as you grow up in the corporate ladder. So that was a truly, truly exciting experience for me. My love for Malaysia actually deepened because I then moved on to join a digital startup. I have been a part of large organizations, big organizations, number one, number two. And the startup, we were very, very different. We had to start by establishing a team. We had to start by getting clients, ensuring we had a culture, ensuring we had certain processes. So that was something that was very, very unique for me. I also learned things like, learning to fail and being okay with it, hitting the ground running. You can't wait for perfection, being more agile, working with sort of unstructured processes, systems, and, not looking and being okay with ambiguity. So that was really very exciting for me. I then moved on to head the Indonesia business. Where a lot of these learnings grew, different culture again, and that further kind of strengthened me as a corporate professional. In 2024, I moved back to India, more out of personal reasons. During that time, I completed my ICF leadership certification, and I also joined my family business. But then there were certain things, certain conversations that I had that actually gave me the realization of what I wanted to do. And that was the birth of my own firm, White Glove Consulting. It's been a few months, Tanay, where, that I've started, but the lessons are innumerable and it's a completely different ballgame altogether. So, yeah, that's where we are at today.
And all I can say is there is some journey, ma'am, from psychology to marketing to now your own business. I mean, sounds tremendous, and that's what life is about, right? Making those different journeys and enjoying different paths.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanay.
Ma'am, launching your own consulting firm is a bold and exciting move. White Glove Consulting is all about transformation, whether it's through training, CX, or leadership coaching. But stepping into entrepreneurship, especially after years of leading a top organizations, is a whole new journey. What inspired you to take this leap, and what has been the most fulfilling or eye-opening part of building something from ground up?
Interesting question. So, like I was mentioning, the epiphany that I had. So when I moved back, I was talking to a lot of people, right? So I was reconnecting with ex-colleagues, ex-clients, mentors, friends, and I got to realize that there was a big gap between what people actually wanted from their workforce and where they were today. And I'm talking of all levels, not just blue collar. I'm talking white collar as well. Now, this could be in terms of their skills, whether they're equipped to take on the future roles. It could be in terms of their attitudes, their behaviors, the way they serve their end customer. So there were a lot of gaps when I was speaking to people. And I said, you know what, this is it. This is my calling. I'm passionate about people. I want to make a difference. I want to create business impact. And that was the birth of White Glove Consulting in October 2024. Um, I learned a lot of lessons. It's still very early days, Tanay, but I learned a lot of lessons. Like, for example, I had to build a brand. In my earlier 24 years of career, assignments, revenue, they came because I was part of something larger. But now, Nirali and White Glove Consulting, we need to establish who we are. Second is, what do we offer? I think our industry is not very different from any other industry where there is competition. So what do I offer which is different, and why would the client want to work with me versus, Mr. ABC? The third thing is getting the first meeting. I think this was one of the biggest realizations. Everyone's really busy. And what can you do? What is the mode of operandi? What is the approach that you can take to get that 30 minutes of time with a potential client, cold call, lead, whatever you want to call it, so that they can listen to what you have to offer. I think I've been very, very grateful to people who have given me time to listen to me, to listen to what my White Glove Consulting offers. But But that would have been one of the biggest challenges I faced in the initial 4 or 5 months of my entrepreneur career. And talking to them also has helped me because I've sharpened my offering. So currently, White Glove Consulting offers three main pillars. The first one being employee engagement. So how do you ensure you get the best out of your employees? Getting people is easy, but keeping them is very, very hard, right? So retention, acquisition, getting the right talent, keeping them happy. So that's all in the first pillar. The second pillar is all about leadership. Leadership is really a very lonely journey. We always envy leaders, but it's really tough. It's lonely. They don't seem to have all the answers. And they also need somebody to guide them, to coach them, help them with skills. Could be soft skills, could be even like AI skills. Somebody to be a sounding board, somebody, who can share their fears, concerns, without judgment. So that is the second pillar, which is all about leadership development. And the third one is the customer experience pillar, which I'm very, very passionate about because for me, I've maintained, built a relationship with customers all my life. And how do you ensure that, a corporation, big, small, doesn't get obsessed with themselves and their products and where the customer delight is kind of ignored? So that is the third pillar, which is all about customer experience, customer delight, customer experience, excellence. So those are the three pillars that I have. And I think being on the business side of things, this is not just any other kind of offering. It's always something, all these offers and modules come with business impact, measuring, ROI, measuring baseline, where do we want to go? So yeah, that's a little bit about where I am today with White Glove Consulting.
Yeah, thank you for that knowledge. I mean, when you start and you go into such a different stream, like you said, leadership is lonely, and only when you reach that you realize how lonely it is at times because you think it's a totally different game. Ma'am, your journey is remarkable, driving 60% revenue growth during lockdown, securing 70% of target client partnerships, and achieving an 80% client recommendation rate while optimizing costs by 15%. Clearly, you've mastered leadership and strategic foresight. But was there a defining moment when a major challenge pushed you to rethink your approach and turn an adversity into opportunity?
Yeah, we've all had them, right, Tanay, in some form or the other. I've had a few in my career, but the one that was the most bittersweet for me was when I had first moved to Malaysia. I had got off on the wrong foot with my management team. So their expectations of my role and what I was told, there was a mismatch. Now, my first instinct was to just drop everything and come back to India, right? That was the easy option. But I also knew that if I did that, I would never be able to work in another market. There would be a lot of barriers, a lot of irrational fears. So I decided when I was calmer that I'm going to take up this challenge and emerge victorious. It was not easy. It's all in hindsight now. So the first thing that I did was I went and met my management team and I asked them clearly list down what are your expectations out of me. When they did, and these are tangible, right? They're smart goals. So when they did, I realized that there were a lot of skills that I did not have in my previous roles. So what do I do? Of course, I did my day-to-day work operations, but I also burned the midnight oil to ensure that I upskill myself, right? We all have to evolve and grow. And this is a different market. Their expectations are different. So whether it was looking at videos, speaking to mentors, reading books, doing Udemy and Coursera courses. So those were all the things that I did because I wanted to prove it to myself that I'm up for the challenge. And it took 2 long years, Tanay, but at the end of that, you know, my management team said that, you know what, they were wrong and that I was up for the challenge and the role that I was hired for. So that has to be my toughest, but the sweetest memory that I have.
And that's how life is, I guess, that your biggest challenges provide for most amount of growth, right?
Yeah, not while you're going through it, but after that, definitely.
100%. Ma'am, you spent years shaping marketing excellence, driving strategic innovation, and leading high impact teams. With such a rich leadership journey, I'm curious what's next for you. Like, are there new frontiers you're looking to explore, industries you want to influence, or even aspirations to bring your expertise into the boardroom and shape business strategy at the highest level?
I've got a lot to do, Tanay. The future is exciting. It's going to be a lot of hustling and
Yeah.
busy. But I think what I want for White Glove Consulting is not just grow in revenue, but also in terms of lasting impact on businesses. I don't want to sell for the sake of selling. I'm very, very clear on that. Um, for me, the dream would be where my clients themselves come and give testimonials about how our collaboration or our partnership has helped their businesses, whether it's with people, whether it's with revenue, whether it's marketing strategy, whatever the engagement is. So that would be my dream for White Glove Consulting. um, I also want to expand to different markets, so I am looking at that as well for the firm. But more importantly, at this stage, after 24, 25 years, I also want to be able to share my leverage and my experiences in the boardroom. I think for me, that is something that is imperative. Some of the things that I could help with are, I mean, it's a big list, but some of the things that come to my mind are, bringing in a very neutral perspective, a point of view, which is unbiased. So that's one. Second is also to ensure that collaboration with stakeholders, relationship management, senior management, because I have done it in my previous roles, something that I'm comfortable with and something that also I am accountable for. So it's about saying what is required for the business and not just to please anybody. So that's the second one. I think the third one is tap into the diverse experience that I've had, whether it's functional, that is digital, marketing, branding, or could be the non-functional ones like, coaching, leadership development, training, employee engagement, motivation, culture. So it's a good balance between the two. Uh, Besides that, of course, there are things like, supporting in crisis management, dealing with integrity. Those are very, very critical if you want to step into the boardroom, right? And also my passion for leadership development and people is something that I would like to, sort of reflect in the boardroom. So yeah, and I think finally, drive just not operations. I think that's a lot of the day-to-day teams that would be doing that, but also help in overall futuristic strategic thinking. So these are just to name a few, but yeah, these are what I feel and why I want to step into the boardroom.
Ma'am, we are glad that you're looking at giving back because with the journey you had, that's the only way I think knowledge passes on, and that's the best way, right? And India is growing because of the fact that people who've learned things before are teaching it to the younger generations, and hence we're growing as an economy, as a country.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ma'am, ESG has become a game changer in how businesses operate, and marketing plays a huge role in shaping a brand's sustainability narrative.
Mm.
From your experience, how do you see marketing driving real impact in ESG, not just as a messaging tool, but as a force of genuine change?
Yeah, that's really a great question. And right now we are at a crux when it comes to ESG, right? Um, it has to go beyond messaging. It has to kind of, companies are accountable, responsible to, for their sustainability claims, how they source ingredients, what are their labor commitments, are they ethical or not? And these are some of the things that they need to kind of shape industry practices, whichever, industry they belong to. Now, the consumers today, especially the millennials, the younger generations, they're very conscious of sustainability. They will choose products on whether they are do good, but also, they also do what they say. They can tell the difference between, somebody who's just a talker and a doer. I think they're very smart because they've got so much information on their hands. So they demand proof. And therefore, for all the communication teams, instead of just being in an annual report, marketing teams, communications team, they have to show the consumer what are their ESG metrics and how they're improving it, whether it's again sourcing, it's ethical labor commitments, whether it is the way they, the pollution that they create. So I think these are some of the things that the consumers demand today. One of my favorite examples are the Veya shoes. I don't know if you know about them. They have a brilliant story that they tell consumers. They tell the consumers, listen, our shoes are more expensive, but that's because, we give fair pay to everyone who works for us, who has, they have ethical cotton sourcing. They also have eco-friendly materials, and all of those recycled materials are more expensive than, for example, plastic. So that's a great example on actually telling the consumer why their shoes are expensive, and then you choose, you want it or you don't want it. So I think that's a great example for me. But overall, Tanay, I think just like the companies can't run away from AI, they can't also run away from ESG. This is the reality, and they have to embrace it in whatever way and capacity they can. So yeah, that's just my thought for ESG. It's time to
Yeah,
get serious about it.
man, that's the only way forward if we're looking at building a country from a developing nation to a developed nation. These are things that take you there rather when you start looking at things more than profit.
Absolutely.
Ma'am, stepping into Directors Institute is a significant move for any leader looking to elevate their governance expertise and boardroom readiness. Having recently joined, how has this experience shaped your perspective on leadership, governance, and your aspirations for future boardrooms?
It's been absolutely fabulous, Tanay. I came across it on LinkedIn and it caught my eye. I'm like, what is this, right? Because I was thinking of what more can I do? How can I contribute more, like at a larger scale? So this caught my eye. And, being part of the Directors Institute course has really opened my eyes and widened my understanding of things that, such as, corporate governance, something that I've had little, overlap in my previous careers, or boardroom dynamics, or ESG in a much deeper way, right? And through the Directors Institute, I have acquired new perspectives on things like, how do these board people come together to create long-term value? How do they, how do they look at risk management? So those are some of the topics that are so fascinating, so deep, and there's so much that can be done, at least in India, where we are sort of now getting awareness and getting an impetus on these topics. So it's been fabulous, and all I'd like to say is that anyone who aspires to be a part of a boardroom, or wants to be an advisor or a consultant at a bigger scale and make a difference for India, Directors Institute is a great program which I highly recommend, and that can really take you places.
Thank you so much for this kind words, ma'am. And that brings us to the end of another phenomenal episode filled with wisdom, experience, and leadership insights. Today, ma'am, you reminded us that true leadership isn't just about making decisions, it's about shaping the future with intention, resilience, and the ability to turn challenges into opportunities. Whether it's driving business growth, elevating brand strategy, or preparing for boardroom leadership, the best leaders don't just follow trends, they create them. At FaceTime, leaders, we believe every conversation is a stepping stone towards stronger, more visionary leadership. And as you move forward, one needs to take these insights with you, lead with clarity, embrace transformation, and make an impact. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and to all our viewers with us today. We hope you like the episode. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until then, we hope you strive with purpose, lead with example, and of course, have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day.